Andrew is just one of 80,000 children that go missing in the UK every year. Now, the majority are found within hours, but sadly, 14-year-old Andrew wasn't. So why did he disappear that day? What was his motivation? I'm on my way to Andrew's parents' home, where he grew up. So tell me what happened the day that Andrew went missing. Was it just a normal day?
He went out the door in his school uniform as though he was going to get the bus like every other day. And that's the last we saw of him.
But rather than attending school, Andrew went to Westfield Park near his home. He waited there until the house was empty before returning. Just after 9 a.m, Andrew was caught on CCTV in a change of clothes and walking down his street in the direction of the station. He went to a cash machine and emptied his savings account, withdrawing £200. Proceeded to Doncaster station, where he bought a one-way ticket to London, boarded a train just after 9:30 a.m. and arrived at London's King's Cross around 11:20. It wasn't until 6 p.m. that night that Kevin and his family realised that Andrew was missing.
So basically, when we got as far as getting some dinner together, we called. Couldn't get an answer. Thought, oh, he can't hear us, he's got earphones in or something. So, you know, then obviously we looked in the usual rooms, couldn't find him. We eventually were able to establish that he'd never been to school. That was the point at which alarm bells really rang.
Tell me about the ear.
It's about as significant as a birthmark, but he's got just an unusual shape on his right ear.
I mean, you must have thought about this so many times over the years, but can you think of any reason at all why he would have gone?
Honestly, we had absolutely no idea. Nothing whatsoever seemed to precede it. And no matter how many times we've been over it in our heads. I mean, if it's something that Andrew decided to do, it was clearly going on in his head only.
I mean, obviously you as a family have all talked endlessly about this, but over the 11 years, how have you all coped individually?
The reason that you don't see Glenys doing any form of interview terribly often is simply that she just gets so upset with it. When there's somebody missing, you don't have that resolution. It's never post anything. It's always still going on, and that's why, in a sense, no amount of counselling or therapy or medication or whatever is actually going to resolve the problem, because the problem always exists. It is like somebody has walked up to you and stuck a carving knife in your guts. And it never heals, it never goes away. Most of the time you manage to stagger on despite the fact that it hurts, and every now and again you get a good twist, and it's too much.
You know, I have a 14-year-old daughter, and the notion that she could just one day walk out of our family home and not be seen again is just unimaginable. And I keep coming back to that ear. It's like Madeleine McCann's eye. It's a very distinguishing factor. So I think the next step is to go and talk to an expert and find out just how rare it is. OK, so this is Andrew's ear when he went missing. Is there a medical definition for that?
The simple answer is no. There isn't a medical term or a medical diagnosis I could apply to this. I would say that this particular pattern is going to be specific to this individual, and in that sense it's very much like a fingerprint.
So obviously it was 11 years since he went missing. Would that have changed?
No. The deformity he has there will be precisely the same now.
So if somebody in their 20s came to see you with an ear like this, how likely is it that it would be Andrew?
Very likely.
5 days after Andrew went missing, there were reports that someone matching his description was seen walking up Sheen Lane in the direction of Upper Richmond Road. And by an odd coincidence, this is also my next stop in the investigation, as it's the home of charity Missing People. Amy Walker has worked at Missing People charity for 7 years, and she's responsible for the publicity of missing cases. I mean, that's the most baffling thing, perhaps, about Andrew's case, is that every eventuality has been kind of explored, and there's still no reason as to why he would have left home that day. Putting his case aside, generally speaking, your experience of children going missing, what are some of the reasons?
Sometimes home isn't always the safest place. And that could be that there's something happening literally at home, maybe within the family unit. There's lots of different things that could lead someone to run away or go missing.
So if a missing person rings you, do you try and persuade them to call their family?
One of the things we can offer, and we do, is something called a message home. And literally, it's kind of the team are kind of a human answering machine, and we just take the message from that missing person and offer to forward it back to their loved ones. In some cases, it might be, I'm not coming home, but I am okay. But we would never force someone to make that decision.
Of course, 11 years on, the CCTV trail pretty much goes cold from this point. So how can you help? Well, I think the key things here are the ear. Then what you must do is write down the exact time and location of that possible sighting and report it to the police, however minor you think it is. And Andrew, if by any chance you're watching, your family are desperate to know that you're okay.
That was brilliant, Jane. Such a good report.
Well, it is heartbreaking. I mean, that family are just, every single day, it's like Groundhog Day. They can't move house.
Sightings.
They won't move house, they won't change the locks, they won't change their phone number. They're just kind of living in this state of paralysis.
Yeah.
What's it like for them? Did they say to you when they hear of a sighting?
That's when he talks about the knife. So you're functioning with that wound, and then it gets twisted because they, you know, they're not going to go, well, it's probably not him. They go
every time there's the hope.
So Lincoln, they go, you know, they went to Lincoln with leaflets, etc. And I mean, obviously Andrew was a child, but just to give it some perspective, during that VT, 5 people have gone missing. Just whilst you've been watching that.
God.
And at this time of year in particular, obviously, it's really tough for families. And it's very difficult because, you know, what was the thing? So 90% of children who go missing are found within 2 days. Because it's very difficult as a young person to go under the radar because invariably you come up against somebody in authority and so it's very, very unusual. It's also really unusual because there were no problems at home. He had 100% attendance at school. This was just, there was nothing.
Out of character.
So out of character.
It's that frightening thing that you just never know what's going on in a teenager's mind, though, do you? I mean, I'd love to get inside my daughter's head. They just keep so much, don't they?
So the police say, just to, the way that, you know, if Andrew is alive, and nobody knows whether he is or not, but is to make members of the public detectives.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the ear, anything like that, and report it, whatever you think, you know, however small. And you know,
as
you might
Jane
solve
says,
it.
right there, if you've got any information on Andrew's whereabouts, you can call the Missing People helpline for free on 116 000 or email 116 000 at missingpeople.org.uk.